So I got a cousin who does gig work, right? DoorDash, Uber Eats, I don't know. The whole gig is in somebody's car. That's all I know. And one day he hits me up talking about, man, cuz I just got robbed. Gun in his face, gun in his back, however it went, took everything. And I'm just like, man, damn, that's wild, right? Mind you, this is in Chicago. I don't live in Chicago. I live in Kansas City. We have tons of family in Chicago, in the suburbs of Chicago, in St. Louis. But he hit me up in Kansas City. Like, he went through all this, bypassed all this before he got to me. And, whatever. So he hit me up. And, me being the good guy that I think I am, I go ahead and loan him the bread. And, so fast forward a couple weeks, months past the time that he was supposed to pay me back, and I'm seeing this dude is posting selfies of him at Roots Chris with his girl of the week or of the month or whoever, however, and with his kids and all that and stuff, and he's going here and going there, and I'm just like, wow, must be nice for you to be out and about. When do I get my bread, right? Where's my money, bro? Was that a robbery or was that an investment round? I mean, for real, my man's just got robbed. So I'm like, okay, so obviously they must have passed the mask to you because now I've gotten robbed. I don't know if he ever made it back on the road. It's been months, years at this point since I've seen that money or even talked to him, honestly. And, like I said, I don't know if he ever made it back on the road. But what I do know is that this gig economy life is a trap. And if you ain't careful, it'll have you getting robbed twice. Once by a man with a gun and once by the damn app. And if you ain't careful, maybe a third time by your cousin. So today we're talking about what this gig economy really is, how it works, who it's built for, and why so many people end up hustling just to stay broke. This is Society Breakdown. Peace, and blessings. What is good? This is your boy 7 Inglewood Zone right now in your zone. And this is another episode of The Blackman Show presents Society Breakdown. And today we are going to keep it 100 with y'all. Look, these gig apps came in talking about be your own boss. But the deeper you get into it, the more it feels like somebody else is cashing your check. So here's what we're breaking down today. Was the gig economy ever really about independence, or was it just a good sales pitch? If companies like Uber and DoorDash still ain't running a real profit, who's actually eating? And what can we do to survive the system or beat it at its own game? Let's go. So first up, look, they told you when it first came out with Uber and Lyft and all that stuff, be your own boss, choose your own hours. But the reality is, when you are your own boss, you suck at being a boss because you want somebody to take care of you. You need somebody to take care of your insurance, let you know how much time you have off, that you can get paid while you're off, and to have some sort of child support or child care to go along with that, which you get none of when you're your own boss, unless you've set that up already. But you can't do that because you ain't got no money. And in addition to that, you have no control over your pay, and you're technically independent, but you're financially dependent. So, cuz out here, I guess he's dodging bullets for that pad thai at $3.75. But yeah, if you look at it as a gig worker, you're the one that's doing the majority of the work. You're doing everything, and the company is the one bagging the profits and bagging off of your experience and your hard-earned work. So they got the perfect business model. They don't have hardly any expenses. Well, I won't say obviously you got business licensing and whatever maintenance you need to do and whatever insurance you need to carry and all that sort of thing, I'm sure. But in general, they have a very low amount of overhead when it comes to what it takes to run the business, because it's running out of your car. You're the one that's collecting those miles. You're the one that's taking people here and there. You're the one that's risking getting shot. So, hey, the company ain't got to do nothing but collect money. I mean, because look, if the drivers are not making the money, then who is? Well, let's look at it like this. Uber lost over $9 billion in 2022, right? DoorDash has had quarterly billion-dollar losses too. Now, granted, I will say more recently in 2023, Uber did have its first profitable quarter of $1 billion, which is like, yay. But again, you've had years and years and years and years of billions of like up to like $9 billion losses in 1 year. Billions, 1,000 million, and multiples of that. You know, in a year, bruh. Look, give me the money if y'all don't know what to do with it. I'm just saying. And yet, and still, the CEOs and investors walk away every year with millions of dollars in their pocket. And why is that? Because the gig companies are built to dominate the markets, not to make money right away. So what it is they're acting antithetical to a lot of these profitable companies and organizations right now. You know, so like your Amazon, your Target, and GM, you know, those companies are looking to make a profit now for their investors. The investors like you and I, like they want to make money so you can make money and everybody's happy making money. However, when it comes to the gig economy, they're not really seeking a profit as much as they're trying to seek dominance within the market. So as long as they can control the market, well, then they can set a cartel, so to speak, of organizations who control this market. And now they get to set the price on whatever the price is going to be per mile, per gallon of gas, you know, whatever sort of thing. You can't unionize, you know, things like that they can set up. So I think that's the way that they're going about doing that. So ultimately they're running on hype, stock options, and cheap labor. Meanwhile, I got a cousin that's dodging my calls like I'm a damn bill collector. Like he's doing the hustling, but ain't none of that hustling getting my pockets rustling. You dig? But ultimately, these platforms don't have to be profitable, right? They just have to keep the workers grinding and keep the investors paid. And then you've got a model that keeps everybody happy, right?
The rise of the gig economy, for example, has created a culture of insecurity and uncertainty where workers are forced to navigate a landscape of short-term contracts and inconsistent pay. This shift has also led to an erosion of benefits and protections that were once taken for granted, such as health insurance, retirement plans, and paid time off. The result is a workforce that's increasingly precarious and financially vulnerable.
And so how do we outsmart a system that's built like this, right? I would say you have to use these gig, and I'm saying this from the position of the driver. For the people who are driving, it's not necessarily I would just say that it's not going to help you to ultimately make this your career, because it seems, especially nowadays, everything that people find or see that it's a way for you to make money from, they start pulling or gently start adding little things here and there to slightly pull away from your profitability. So I don't know what the means is for gig workers other than maybe finding a new trade or something that's more lasting, like learning how to do some plumbing or some electricity or something like that. Because seriously, like you'll get a whole lot more bang for your buck if you're able to drive to a gig, bring your tools, do your job, get paid $100 an hour and leave. The whole lot quicker and easier than driving for Uber or driving somebody back and forth to the airport and fishing for rides. You know, that's just the way I see it. And this is coming from somebody who used to do Uber himself. And to that end, like you have to use these gig services strategically. Like gig work can fund your real goals, but it can't be the goal. Like I saw a video not so long ago of a guy who I think he was driving Uber to save $10,000 or $20,000 or something like that, so he could put a down payment on a house or so he could do something. And he was driving and doing it, and he was living in his car at the time, so he was able to save money like crazy. But he was able to do that so quickly that he was like, oh man, I reached my goal a month or something like that way sooner than I thought I would.
This is what it's like after you save $60,000 in 6 months to build your dream tiny home in Florida.
So yeah, in the short term, yeah, do that. Get yourself some quick money, quick ends, but don't make this your plan. I don't think that Uber or any of those should be your plan. So save your money, set a cap, whatever that goal is that you're trying to get to. And when it is no longer working for you, dip. Get the hell out of there. You ain't got to worry about them no more. Trust, they do not worry about you at all. And next, if you are going to be a gig worker, know your numbers. You know what I'm saying? Track your mileage, your fuel, your maintenance costs and all that stuff. Like, it's not worth it if you are earning less than minimum wage as a whole. Know all of the money that you're putting into it so you can extract that from what it is that you're taking out of it, so that way you can see what your actual profit is. That's how they figure out what profitability is anyway. You take your revenue minus your expenses and you get profit. Basically, that's how that works. And then, of course, there's always the political steps you can go through as far as, supporting legislation for benefits, minimum wage guarantees, app transparencies, things like that. But, that's the long game. And y'all don't like to play the long game. Look at where we are right now. But if you are going to play the long game, you got to push for laws that demand benefits and fair wages and other protections. I mean, you got to know your representatives and sign up petitions and support the labor conditions that are working on your behalf. I mean, for real, when my cousin got robbed, I mean, look, Uber gave him nothing. You know what I'm saying? No workers' comp, no trauma counseling, no security fund. Meanwhile, I gave him $5,000 and I'm still waiting on my reimbursement plan. I'll just say this to my cousin. Hey, next time you get robbed, don't come to me. Call Uber support and let them give you the same silence that you've been giving me when I've been asking for this money back. But getting back to it, look, the gig economy is not new. It's just the same old grind with a new coat of digital paint on it. You clock in on your own time, but your value, well, that belongs to somebody else. And if freedom means running in place, then let's stop calling it freedom and let's call it what it is. Treadmill. Huh? Isn't that what it is? Moving around and getting nowhere fast. That's called a treadmill, baby. I think that my hamster's got one of those. But some of the things that we can kind of take away from this is that, flexibility is a feature, right? It's not a substitute for fairness. Just because you have that flexibility in the business or the flexibility within your work schedule doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be profitable while working that flexible work schedule. You still have to have some discipline while working in it. So that's still going to be on you to do and to dictate how you're going to work that schedule. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, I know a lot of people who are flexible in real life. That don't mean that they work out. You know what I'm saying? And if a company is continually losing money, but the CEO is balling, you are the product. I keep telling y'all about being the product. Avoid being the product at all costs if you can. And lastly, use the gig. Don't let the gig use you. But I'll ask y'all this. Have you ever worked on a gig or some sort of gig economy job or something like that? And it worked for you? Let me know your story, because it worked for me in the very short term. And the longer I stayed, the worse it got. So that's why I got the heck up out of there. But go ahead and tell me your story. Tell me what worked, what didn't work. And if you ever got ghosted by your cousin too. But with that said, protect your peace, track your pay, and stop letting these apps play you. This has been your boy, Seven Blackman, and this has been another episode of The Blackman Show presents Society Breakdown. Y'all take care of each other and be good to each other, and I'll see y'all on the next one, all right? Peace, and I'm out. And look, if you're watching this, with as many times as I've mentioned you today, that basically counts as a paid promotion. So please, cash me out as soon as possible. Or look, just make your check payable to 7